Vasseur has now confirmed Ferrari's exact plan for the Barcelona preseason test, and it immediately tells us that the SF-26 program is being handled with a very specific long-term strategy in mind. Ferrari will not run the car on the first day of testing. Instead, the SF-26 will make its official preseason debut on Tuesday, skipping the opening session entirely. This is not a delay caused by technical issues or last-minute complications, but a deliberate and carefully calculated choice. After completing a clean and successful shakedown at Fiorano, Ferrari's next major appointment for the SF-26 is the collective preseason test in Barcelona. Under the current regulations, teams are allowed to choose 3 of the 5 available testing days and organize their running however they see fit. Ferrari has therefore decided to concentrate its work into a shorter but more controlled window. The Maranello team will begin running only from Tuesday, a choice that on the surface mirrors McLaren's approach, but when examined closely, reveals a completely different philosophy. McLaren has opted to skip the first day because they want to maximize development time on the MCL40 before committing it to the track. As reigning world champions, their goal is to run immediately in a configuration that is already close to what they expect to race with in Australia. Ferrari's thinking, however, is almost the opposite. Having already announced that multiple updates are scheduled to arrive in the coming weeks, and having already completed the first on-track kilometers with the SF-26 at Fiorano, Ferrari sees no value in delaying their test debut simply to gain an extra day in the wind tunnel. The car has already run, baseline checks have been completed, and the priority now shifts from theoretical development to structured data gathering. This is where the situation becomes particularly interesting, because while both Ferrari and McLaren are absent on day 1 in Barcelona, the motivations behind those decisions could not be more different. In McLaren's case, it is about finalizing development before committing to a race-oriented package. In Ferrari's case, it is about managing risk, sequencing updates, and protecting the core testing program. Ferrari has already indicated that the SF-26 will receive updates very early, potentially even during the test itself. What we saw at Fiorano and at the launch event was never intended to be a definitive version of the car. It was version A of the Maranello project, a baseline specification designed to validate architecture, systems integration, and reliability. This is why Ferrari does not feel the need to rush into the first day of collective testing. One of the most intriguing hypotheses circulating in the paddock is that Ferrari may choose to send its customer teams out first as unofficial scouts. By allowing Haas and other customer outfits to run earlier, Ferrari can gather early power unit and systems data without exposing the works car to unnecessary risk. If a reliability issue were to surface on day 1, it would not compromise Ferrari's limited testing allocation with the main car. This is a pragmatic and intelligent approach that reflects how tightly testing mileage is now managed under the regulations. Vasseur himself has been very clear about Ferrari's priorities for Barcelona. The focus will be on strengthening reliability and accumulating kilometers rather than chasing headline lap times. At this stage, absolute performance is largely irrelevant. What matters is understanding how the car behaves, how the systems interact, and ensuring that the SF-26 can run consistently without interruption. The first true objective is simply to make the car work as intended over long runs. Ferrari's official test program will therefore begin on Tuesday, when the SF-26 will finally take to the track alongside the rest of the field in a collective session. And this is where the story gains another important layer. Ferrari will not wait until after testing to introduce changes. Updates are already planned during the test itself. The SF-26 that ran at Fiorano could look noticeably different very quickly. This reinforces the idea that Ferrari is treating the early phase of the season as a continuation of concept validation rather than a fixed performance push. According to internal sources, development will be an ongoing process from the very first kilometers. This season also marks the first time that the new technical director, Loic Serra, has fully put his signature on a Ferrari project in this role. Serra has made it clear that evolution is guaranteed, and that the car will continue to change even during winter testing. Ferrari has spent the majority of its development time so far working on the basic architecture of the SF-26, deliberately exploring multiple aerodynamic and mechanical concepts in parallel to ensure that the chosen direction is the right one. Only once that foundation has been properly understood will Ferrari commit to aggressive refinement through updates. Serra himself has explained that Ferrari intentionally extended the concept evaluation phase, paying close attention to a wide range of solutions before narrowing down the final direction. This methodical approach underlines Ferrari's determination to avoid the mistakes of previous regulatory cycles, where early assumptions sometimes limited development potential later in the season. Vasseur has echoed this philosophy repeatedly, emphasizing that in Barcelona, reliability will take precedence over outright performance. Ferrari postponed the demo day as much as possible specifically to gain more development time, fully aware of the calendar constraints from the very beginning. This is not a short-term gamble, but a long-term process. Ferrari has chosen to develop when the opportunity presents itself rather than rushing unfinished ideas onto the track. Vasseur has stressed that at the start of a new cycle, being able to run without problems is already a significant achievement. The Fiorano shakedown delivered exactly what Ferrari needed, a trouble-free run with no major issues. That alone provides a strong foundation of confidence heading into Barcelona. A clean shakedown is invaluable under these circumstances because it allows the team to approach testing with clarity rather than firefighting. The objective now is to gather as much information as possible from the car, analyze the data, and then begin targeted development based on real evidence rather than assumptions. Vasseur has been explicit on this point. First, the team must understand how the car works. Only then does it make sense to introduce updates. Bringing random upgrades without a clear understanding of the car's behavior is pointless under such complex regulations. Ferrari's approach is therefore structured, rational, and intentionally conservative in the early phase. This careful methodology is especially important given that the sport is at the dawn of a completely new regulatory cycle. All teams face an enormous growth curve, and that inevitably means that development will be relentless throughout the entire season. The potential for improvement is vast when working with entirely new rules, and that potential will translate into frequent update packages across the grid. Vasseur has acknowledged that the development pace this season will be far more intense than anything seen in recent years. No team truly knows where it will stand even 2 weeks from now. The competitive situation can change extremely quickly. A team that appears strong today could be overtaken within a matter of weeks, while a team that seems to be struggling early on could make a significant leap forward. This volatility is exactly why early testing results should be treated with caution. The pecking order is not established, and it will not be fixed after the first race. Melbourne will not define the championship. According to Vasseur, aerodynamic development alone will deliver major performance gains on a weekly basis, not just for Ferrari, but for everyone. The focus must therefore remain internal. Ferrari's priority is to execute its own development plan effectively over the coming weeks and months. Predictions at this stage are meaningless, Vasseur concludes, and it is difficult to argue with that assessment. We are only at the very beginning of the process. What we saw at Fiorano was merely version A of the SF-26. Updates are already in motion, and the development rate will be extremely aggressive. The landscape can shift rapidly. Teams that look competitive now may not be in a month, and teams that appear behind could surprise everyone. That uncertainty is the defining feature of a new regulatory era. Everything is open, and everything is possible. To recap the full situation surrounding the Barcelona test and Ferrari's strategy, Vasseur has confirmed that the SF-26 will begin running from Tuesday, skipping the first day by design. This decision is the result of a precise and logical strategy rather than coincidence. McLaren is skipping the first day to extend development time and arrive at the track with a near-race configuration of the MCL40. Ferrari, on the other hand, is skipping the first day because it has already completed the Fiorano shakedown and does not require additional wind tunnel time at this stage. Ferrari may also allow its customer teams to run first in order to collect early power unit data without risking disruptions to the works program. The priority in Barcelona will be reliability, mileage, and data collection, not performance. Understanding the car comes before extracting speed. Updates will arrive even during winter testing because the car seen so far represents only the first iteration of the project. Loic Serra has confirmed that development will be intense from the very beginning, following extensive work on the car's basic architecture. Vasseur has reiterated that reliability must come before performance, and the successful Fiorano shakedown has provided valuable confidence. The process is clear: collect data first, then develop in a targeted and informed way. The development pace across the grid will be faster than in previous years. The competitive order is highly fluid, and Melbourne will not decide anything. Aerodynamic gains will come frequently, predictions remain premature, and the new regulatory cycle ensures that nothing is fixed. Everything remains open, and that is precisely what makes this season so compelling.